Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 10 Part 22 based on novel. So let's start. The cry of a dragon resounded across the land. Two figures had appeared in front of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Their auras condensed behind them, taking the shape of a giant coiling dragon as a mighty pressure enveloped the land. These two figures immediately draw numerous shocked gazes. Of the rarely seen 4 Overlord tribe members, 2 had actually appeared today. Several people faced each other with their mouths slightly agape. Just what was the present situation? Was it a face-off between the Celestial Demon Martin tribe and the Dragon tribe? This appeared a little dreadful. Members of the Dragon tribe. Little Martin also frowned as he looked at the two figures who had appeared. He was somewhat surprised in his heart. It seemed that this Heaven Dragon Demon Commander did have some backing. Not only did he possess a Dragon Tribe totem, he was even able to summon help from the Dragon Tribe. The coiling dragon behind the two figures gradually disappeared under the many pairs of watching eyes. Both individuals appeared to be middle-aged. Their somewhat stern face gave off a dignified aura. From the faintly discernible astonishing auras from their bodies, it was evident that they had reached the samsara stage. Even in the Dragon Tribe, the status of those with such strength was not low at all. The two figures first glanced at the seriously injured and miserable figure of the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. After which, they shifted their gazes towards the frosty-looking Little Martin and the other 3 Celestial Demon Tribe samsara stage experts nearby. A grave expression flashed across both of their eyes. The fact that 4 samsara stage experts had been dispatched at the same time indicated that the handsome young man's status in the Celestial Demon Martin tribe was rather high. "Big brother Duan, save me!" The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander rejoiced when he looked at the 2 who had appeared and hurriedly cried out. "Ha ha, friend from the Celestial Demon Martin tribe. I am Duan Dao from the Dragon tribe. May I know just how Heaven Dragon has offended you to have caused you to be used such merciless attacks?" One of middle-aged men glanced at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. Soon after, he cupped his hands towards Little Martin and smilingly said, "He wished to kill my brother. Are you saying that Grandpa Martin should have been gentler?" A vicious look flashed across Little Martin's handsome face as he sneered and replied, "Friend, Heaven Dragon is already seriously injured. This should be enough if your intention was to vent your anger. I believe that this should settle the matter." The other middle-aged man spoke in a deep voice. Given his relationship with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, he naturally needed to speak up for him. "My modus operandi is not to leave matters unfinished." Little Martin's eyes turned slightly cold as he spoke. His style was the same as Lin Dong's. He usually did not take action, but once he did, he would eliminate any loose ends. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was quite powerful. Although Little Martin did not fear the former, it would be quite troublesome if this fellow was to create some mischief in the future. Duan Dao frowned when he saw that Little Martin refused to let the matter rest. The Celestial Demon Martin tribe was indeed powerful, however, their Dragon tribe was not simple either. If it was not because he was wary of Little Martin's status, he would have long ago attacked to regain some of the Dragon tribe's face. However, he did not expect that the other party continued to not give them any face despite their politeness. Heaven Dragon is a member of my Dragon tribe and he once made a substantial contribution to the tribe. Hence, even though his blood is impure, he was still bestowed the Dragon tribe totem by the 3 elders of my tribe. How can my Dragon tribe maintain our reputation if we simply sit back and watch him be killed? Duan Dao stared at Little Martin and said, "Friend, do you really intend to damage the relationship between our 2 tribes just because of this small grudge?" The Celestial Demon Martin tribe and the Dragon tribe were part of the 4 Overlord tribes and they usually did not meddle in each other's business. Even if there was some friction between 2 parties, they would very rarely take the other party's life. This was because they were well aware that if 2 great tribes were to start a war, it would definitely be a calamity. Moreover, it would be difficult to determine a clear winner. At that time, both sides would only end up suffering terrible losses. Little Martin's eyes were ice cold. He also stared at Duan Dao and slowly said, The matter started because this big mongrel bird wanted to kill my brother. Therefore, it is only reasonable for me to do whatever I want. If you wish to protect him, all I can say is, be prepared to bear the consequences. Little Martin might seem to have a tyrannical character, but he was also quite stubborn, and it was relatively difficult to make him change his decisions. Moreover, he also had the same character as Lin Dong. They would only grow even more determined when threatened. The Du and Dao duo's expressions clearly changed upon hearing those last few words from Little Martin. Their expressions slightly darkened as they replied, "Friend, are you certain that you have the authority to say such words?" "Ha ha, Ah Jiao is one of the candidates for the next tribe leader. Do you think that he is not qualified?" A middle-aged man from the celestial demon Martin tribe beside Little Martin smiled faintly and said, "Candidate for the next tribe leader?" The Du and Dao duo's pupils shrunk slightly when they heard these words. Their faces finally turned completely serious. They had guessed that Little Martin's status within the celestial demon Martin tribe was rather high, but they did not expect that they had still underestimated it in the end. As they were also from the 4 overlord tribes, they were naturally well aware of what this status represented. If Little Martin became the next tribe leader, he might very well bear a grudge due to today's matter, and that would truly end up affecting the relationship between the two tribes. The Du and Dao duo exchanged glances with each other. Both felt that the situation had become difficult to resolve. They were a little afraid of Little Martin's identity. However, if they were to let the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander be killed in front of so many witnesses, their dragon tribe would be humiliated. The atmosphere of the place became pressurizing while the Du and Dao duo were silent. Everyone clamped their mouths shut as they carefully observed the development of the situation. The Golden Ape Demon Commander and the Ghost Condor Demon Commander stealthily wiped off the cold sweat on their brows. Although they were considered powerful individuals in this Beast War region, they were really nothing in the eyes of the 2 overlord tribes. Although Samsara stage individuals were top-class battle power in the 2 tribes, the foundation that these 2 tribes were built on was far beyond what factions like theirs could compare to. Little Martin's penetrating eyes stared at the Du and Dao duo while a baleful aura continued to gather within them. This pressurizing atmosphere continued for a long time, before Lin Dong below finally shook his head helplessly just as Little Martin was about to step forward. He moved and appeared beside Little Martin and grabbed the latter's arm. "Let's forget about the matter today," Lin Dong smilingly said to Little Martin. Little Martin frowned upon hearing this. He was well aware of Lin Dong's character. The latter was even more decisive and dealt with matters even more cleanly than himself. Lin Dong shrugged his shoulders. He was also unwilling to let the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander off. However, this matter had already ended up affecting the relationship between the Celestial Demon Martin tribe and the Dragon tribe. Although Little Martin's status in the Celestial Demon Martin tribe was not low, the relationship between the 2 tribes was a sensitive topic. A slight mistake could result in frightening waves. Moreover, Lin Dong had also clearly heard that Little Martin was merely one of the candidates for the next tribe leader. In other words, there were other strong rivals within the tribe. Therefore, Lin Dong did not wish for Little Martin to stir some arguments within the tribe over this matter. Little Martin looked at Lin Dong. It was possible for him to identify the meaning that the latter wished to convey through the expression in his eyes. Hence, the violence in his eyes diminished slightly after being quiet for some time. Surprise flashed within the eyes of the 3 middle-aged men behind Little Martin upon seeing this scene. They were also well aware of Little Martin's stubborn character. Therefore, others would have an extremely difficult time changing his mind once he had decided on something. Yet, this friend is really magnanimous. I will apologize on behalf of Heaven Dragon if he has offended you in any way. Du and Dao quietly sighed in relief and hurriedly chuckled upon seeing this. Ha ha, there is no need to apologize. The divine object which my brother took from him earlier is not a bad compensation. Lin Dong smiled and said, "What a joke. He would really have let himself down if he allowed the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander to escape unscattered without leaving anything behind." Lin Dong, you. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander became furious upon hearing this. The 9 Sky Heavy Mountain was a relatively powerful divine object. He had barely been able to refine it after investing a tremendous amount of effort back then. "Shut up!" Duan Dao cried out in a low voice as he viciously glared at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. This fellow still did not know what was good for him after causing such trouble. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander shut his mouth indignantly. Although they were both at the Samsara stage, he was aware that his status was nothing compared to Duan Dao in the Dragon Tribe. "Since young brother is interested in that divine object, you can have it. You can also be rest assured that Heaven Dragon will not disturb you in the future." Duan Dao cupped his hands together and said, "That will be best. Grandpa Martin will not show any mercy if there is a next time." Little Martin spoke in a faint voice. However, many people laughed dryly after these words escaped his lips. Did his earlier attack show any mercy? Duan Dao could only nod his head. He also felt some rage in his heart because of Little Martin's overbearing manner. With a quick wave of hand, he prepared to leave with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. However, his body suddenly paused. He frowned and seemed to be thinking of something. Finally, he turned to look at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander. "Eh? What is it?" The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was startled as Duan Dao looked at him. He was unable to make heads or tails of the situation. What did you call him earlier?" Duan Dao frowned and asked. "Lindong. This fellow is a human and has been acting extremely arrogantly in our demon region." "What?" The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was a little lost. However, before he could finish speaking, he saw that Duan Dao's expression seemed to have become exceptionally interesting. He immediately shut his mouth and carefully said, "Big brother Duan Dao, what is it?" Duan Dao ignored him this time. Instead, he turned around and looked Lindong in front of everyone, before revealing a forced smile. "Young brother, you called Lindong?" Lindong was also a little puzzled by Duan Dao's behavior. However, he still nodded. "Ha ha." Duan Dao rubbed his hands together and asked somewhat anxiously, "May I know if young brother Lindong is acquainted with Lord Qingxi?" Lindong blinked. Only then did he suddenly understand. After which, he nodded in front of Duan Dao's somewhat anxious eyes and said, "The green heaven materialized dragon skill that I practice was passed on to me by Elder Qingxi." "Why?" Swoosh! The view before Lindong's eyes became dazzled after his words sounded. After which, he was astonished to see Duan Dao grab his hand. The originally stern face of the latter was now filled with a strange enthusiasm. "Ha ha, so it's actually young brother Lindong." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and numerous other powerful individuals behind were completely stunned upon seeing this scene. Lindong was bewildered, as he stared at that originally imposing face, which was now filled with great warmth. He was not the only person who reacted in this manner. Even Little Martin and the rest standing beside him were stunned. It was likely that none of them had expected that this expert from the Dragon Tribe, who typically acted in a haughty fashion, would actually act like this. "Big brother Duan, you." The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's eyes almost popped out upon seeing this. His words rolled in his mouth, but he could not bring himself to spit them out. Clearly, the scene in front of him had quite a great impact on him. "What is it?" The Golden Ape Demon Commander duo in the distance were also filled with shock as they exchanged glances. Shock filled their eyes. Could it be that Lindong is also related to the Dragon Tribe? This little fellow? Just where did he came from? Cough. Lindong gradually recovered his senses in front of many pairs of strange-looking eyes. He looked at his hand, which was being tightly grabbed by Duan Dao, and coughed awkwardly. Subsequently, he pulled his hand back in a discreet manner and laughed. "What is going on? Has big brother Duan Dao heard of me?" In reality, Lindong was feeling relatively shocked in his heart as well. From the way Duan Dao behaved, it was obvious that the latter had heard of him. This caused him to feel a little lost. Although he had managed to create a name for himself in the chaotic demon sea, it was far from reaching a level whereby it would be transmitted to this distant demon region. Moreover, it shouldn't have reached a point whereby one of the 4 overlord tribes, the Dragon Tribe, had learnt of his name. "Ha ha, Lord Qingxi passed a message to our Dragon Tribe some time earlier, and he specifically mentioned young brother Lindong." Du and Dao laughed. Lin Dong nodded. It was indeed news sent back by Elder Qing Shi. From the looks of it, the latter seemed to possess a relatively high status in the dragon tribe. However, this was nothing surprising. After all, he was a genuine reincarnation stage expert. Moreover, he had lived for so many years. In fact, it was likely that he was considered as a relic even in the dragon tribe, which were famed for their long lifespans. Things would have been much simpler if we knew that you are young brother Lin Dong. Du and Dao smiled. After which, he beckoned the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander to come over. The latter hesitated before walking towards them. Heaven Dragon, you acted recklessly. Apologize to young brother Lin Dong now. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was not the only one whose eyes were wide open upon hearing these words. Even Little Martin and the 3 other Celestial Demon Martin tribe Samsara stage experts glanced at Lin Dong in shock. That was because Du and Dao did not act in such an ardent fashion when facing Little Martin previously, however. Big Brother Duan, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander, did not understand what was going on as he asked in a dumbfounded manner. Young brother Lin Dong is Lord Qingxi's successor. Do you think that you can afford to offend him? Du and Dao's eyes sunk as he said. Lord Qingxi. Even with the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander's character, he was still shocked upon hearing this name. As part of the dragon tribe, he clearly understood what this name represented. He was one of the top individuals in the current dragon tribe. However, he could not fathom how Lin Dong would actually have such a relationship with this legendary individual. Although the Samsara stage was only one step away from the reincarnation stage, there were countless talented geniuses in this world who were unable to take this one step forward, despite trying for their whole lives. The gap between the two was also unimaginably huge. Therefore, even though this Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was a Samsara stage expert and a powerful overlord in the demon region, he still felt great fear and respect when facing a reincarnation stage expert. Haha, the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander was once very interested in my green heaven materialized dragon skill. Lin Dong stared at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander and said with a half smile. Du and Dao's expression changed upon hearing this. The Heaven Dragon Demon Commander felt an ominous feeling upon seeing this. He hurriedly laughed dryly. Young brother Lin Dong, what are you saying? I was a little impulsive at that time. If I had known that this was passed to you by Lord Qingxi, I would have never dared to set my sights on it. Young brother Lin Dong, Heaven Dragon does indeed act in a reckless manner at times. I hope that you will forgive him. Du and Dao cupped his hands together and smilingly said. Lin Dong grinned. The warmth that Du and Dao displayed caused him to feel as if something was amiss. Although Qingxi had an extremely high status in the dragon tribe, Du and Dao was no ordinary individual as well. Even though he would be friendly towards Lin Dong on account of Qingxi, it would not reach this extent, where he was purposefully currying favor with Lin Dong. Let's just forget about it. Big brother Du and Dao need not be overly concerned about it. Since this matter is resolved, I will be taking my leave first. Lin Dong cupped his hands together towards Du and Dao and said. Du and Dao felt a little anxious when he saw that Lin Dong was about to leave. He hurriedly stopped the latter. Kai, haha, young brother Lin Dong. There is no need to rush. Lin Dong's eyes narrowed. He looked at Du and Dao and smiled. Finally, he softly asked, does big brother Duan has something else in mind? Du and Dao paused for a moment. Finally, he smiled bitterly and nodded. He softly said, something has happened in our tribe and we need young brother Lin Dong's help. Lin Dong was slightly startled. The dragon tribe actually wanted his help? Hey, you should stop spouting such nonsense. What use will he be if it is something that even your dragon tribe cannot resolve? Little Martin stepped forward and said with unfriendly eyes. The other 3 Samsara stage celestial demon Martins also stared at Du and Dao from behind. Their eyes were also filled with shock. Du and Dao looked at Little Martin. He hesitated for a moment before he finally waved his hand. Immediately, a light sphere enveloped them. Clearly, he did not wish for others to eavesdrop on their conversation. Lord Qingji delivered a message which says that young brother Lin Dong might be able to help resolve the current problem facing our dragon tribe. Duan Dao sighed and explained. Oh. Lin Dong was a little surprised. His eyes quickly narrowed as he crossed his fingers and softly said, could it be a problem related to the Yimo? Duan Dao was stunned upon hearing these words. After which, he nodded helplessly. He did not expect that Lin Dong was able to guess the problem immediately. Lin Dong frowned slightly. It was just like he had imagined. After all, the dragon tribe was extremely powerful and he was no match even up against a random individual from their tribe. However, as of now, the dragon tribe needed his help. After thinking about it, the only aspect where he could be useful was perhaps his ability to counter the Yimo. Moreover, only those mysterious and unfathomable Yimo would be able to give a faction, as powerful as the dragon tribe, such a headache. Yimo? Those creatures again? Little Martin frowned. It seemed like he was also somewhat aware of the Yimo. After all, he was the previous owner of the ancestral stone. Of course, Lin Dong's current control over the ancestral stone had far surpassed Little Martin back then. What is the exact situation? Lin Dong looked at Duan Dao and asked. I'm afraid that I can only explain to young brother Lin Dong in detail after we head back to the dragon tribe. Duan Dao laughed bitterly. This is quite an urgent matter and we have been quietly searching for young brother Lin Dong ever since we received the message from Lord Qingji. It is unexpected for us to find you here today. He needs to go to the dragon tribe. Little Martin glanced at Duan Dao in a doubtful fashion. Although Lin Dong's strength had soared, it was likely that he won't even have the opportunity to flee if anything were to happen after he ventured into the dragon tribe. This friend from the celestial demon Martin tribe, there is no need to worry. My dragon tribe is not some small and ordinary tribe. We will definitely not use such despicable tricks. Moreover, young brother Lin Dong and Lord Qingji are related. Our dragon tribe will definitely treat him as a friend. Duan Dao hurriedly reassured. Lin Dong smiled and said, Big brother Duan Dao, there is no need to worry. Elder Qingji is my benefactor and he is also a member of the dragon tribe. Hence, I will naturally lend a hand now that something has happened to the dragon tribe. Lin Dong had quite a great interest in the dragon tribe. Of course, his greatest interest lay in the ancient dragon transformation pool, which Qingji mentioned previously. If Lin Dong wanted to gain complete mastery of the green heaven materialized dragon skill, he must not skip the dragon bone transformation step. Initially, he was still fretting over how he was going to cultivate a relationship with the dragon tribe. Unexpectedly, the dragon tribe came knocking on his door. According to what Qingji said, this ancient dragon transformation pool seems to be relatively important to the dragon tribe. Therefore, it was basically impossible for an outsider to enter. However, it seems like the dragon tribe needed his help currently. In this way, it was possible for him to use this opportunity to ask the dragon tribe to let him enter the ancient dragon transformation pool. In that case, thank you young brother Lin Dong. My dragon tribe will remember this favor. Duan Dao immediately rejoiced upon hearing this. Why are you so quick to agree? It is not your style to help others for free. You actually believe his empty words. Little Martin approached Lin Dong and said softly. Lin Dong was speechless. Standing beside him, Duan Dao also coughed awkwardly. He said, as long as young brother Lin Dong can help to resolve the problem that my dragon tribe is currently facing, it is likely that my tribe will not treat him shabbily. Brother Duan Dao, when do you plan to leave? Lin Dong asked. We will leave whenever you wish to. Of course, it is best to do so as soon as possible. Duan Dao hesitated and said. Lin Dong nodded. He could see the anxiety on Duan Dao's face and his heart was immediately shaken. What exactly was going on in the dragon tribe? They were actually this anxious. In that case, let's leave in 3 days. We will have to settle some matters in Deep Lightning Mountain over these 3 days. Lin Dong thought for a moment and said. All right. I will head to Deep Lightning Mountain to fetch young brother Lin Dong in 3 days. Young brother Lin Dong, You can be rest assured that if anyone tries anything suspicious during this period of time, my dragon tribe will not let him off. Duan Dao spoke in a deep voice. He even glared at the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander as he spoke. The latter nodded awkwardly. However, he no longer had any arrogance left. After all, he was able to discern the gravity of the current situation. Lin Dong had already become an extremely important person to the dragon tribe. If he was to offend Lin Dong, it was likely that the dragon tribe would no longer protect him. Haha, all right then. Lin Dong laughed and nodded. Duan Dao did not say anything more after seeing this situation. He cupped his hands together again and led the Heaven Dragon Demon Commander in a swift withdrawal. With their departure, the atmosphere in this place also began to gradually relax. Countless pairs of eyes, which were looking at Lin Dong, were filled with shock. Given those words that Duan Dao had said previously, who in the Beast War region would dare to offend Deep Lightning Mountain in the future? Who could have imagined that a seemingly insignificant Deep Lightning Mountain would actually be related to the Celestial Demon Martin tribe and the Dragon tribe, which were both part of the 4 Overlord tribes? At this very moment, those many experts and factions finally completely abandoned any intention of snatching the divine item treasury from Lin Dong. All of them sighed and withdrew from the divine item mountain range unwillingly together with their subordinates. Lin Dong stared at this scene, which had come to an end, before he smiled. Then, he turned his head towards little Martin. Finally, he smilingly said, "Let's go. Follow us back to Deep Lightning Mountain first. It is time for us brother to gather together and celebrate. After which, haha, I really want to find out what is the major problem the Dragon tribe is currently facing." This video will end here.